Hello and welcome to Helping Other People Excel, or HOPE as we call it, Helping Other People Excel. And we're glad you could join us today for this next half hour, and we'll sit down and share a little bit together and maybe learn a few things from each other and have a better life, live the life we've always wanted. So anyway, before I get started, I want to thank our fine sponsors, WCET Television here in Hudsonville. They do a fine job of producing this show. JB out there, he does all the fancy footwork, putting the titles down and phone numbers and so on. I want to appreciate what he does there, and Alan for all of his fine expertise on setting everything up and making it click. So they got some brand new audio equipment now. They've been progressing nicely with all this new stuff all this year, and we're happy to see them growing. So aside from that, we have Pamper Me Naturally is a nice little pampermenaturally.com website where you can go and buy soaps and lotions and lip balms and salves and things of that nature for your skin. If your skin could talk, it would say Pamper Me Naturally. So since it can't, I have to talk for it. At any rate, other than that, our other sponsor is Perry's Place in Cedar Springs, 90 North Main, Cedar Springs, and they carry fine herbs and teas and more, plus they have massage therapy and things for people that have gluten problems and milk issues and things like that, food and vitamins and essential oils. So stop up if you get a chance up that way, and Perry can help you with your health, your physical health. Pamper Me Naturally helps you with your skin health, and we here at HOPE, we try to help you with your emotional health, and that we can all grow in that way and have a better life. So bring hope to you. So again, thanks for joining us today. On my way here, I was pondering, as I often do, what content I would use for my show today. And you just really have to be careful what you wish for, because as I was pondering that and driving down the highway, all of a sudden I was thrown into a spin. I hit some slick spots and spun out in front of a semi-truck, which fortunately I did not hit, and it wound up in the ditch. And it was a bit of a exciting few moments there, a bit of a shock. When I finally came to rest, I had to take inventory. Okay, is everything good? And all the stuff in my vehicle was scattered all over and topsy-turvy, and mud and grass on my windshield, and I even found a poor little dead field mouse that I must have ran over or something. But it was kind of a shock. And as I was waiting for the guy to come and pull me out of the ditch, I was thinking, a lot of things. One of the things I thought about was all the things that I thought about while it was occurring and how it happened so quickly. And so many things in life are that way. It just happens before we know it. And here I was driving down the road. I was listening to some good audio information, and everything was fine. And then all of a sudden I had a little slip, and okay, that's no big deal because I know how to control and correct that. And so I corrected it, but then it turned into a bigger slip, and next thing I know, I was doing circles in the road and wound up backwards in the ditch. So, I thought about, as I was sitting there, I thought, boy, I wonder what that semi-driver thought, because he was right next to me there. I just kind of had nicely gotten past him when I spun out, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, what did he do? Did he step on his brakes? Did he just let off his gas? Did he steer a little to the right? What was his thoughts, and what were his reactions to this? And those men have my utmost respect, because they spend a lot of time on the road, and those with a lot of experience probably know exactly what to do in a situation like that. But I thought I had it good too, because the little slip was no big deal, and I knew how to correct. And sure enough, I straightened her back out for a second, but it eventually got out of control again. So, but then all the things I was thinking as I was spinning around, and I'm hearing the stuff shifting around in my vehicle, and the sensation of not being in control and of not going in the direction of the road I was on. I'm all of a sudden backwards, and as it turns out, I hit one of those little reflector poles, and I hit it backwards. The van was going in reverse by that time, not driving in reverse, but just had spun around and was going into the ditch, and I hit that reflector pole, and it damaged my bumper. But fortunately, nothing else was damaged on the vehicle. But you don't know that, and you're in this spin and you're thinking, wow, what's going on? And boy, I wonder how bad this is going to be. And, did I damage it bad? Is it going to be drivable after this? What am I going to do? Who am I going to call? All these things go through your mind in those just few brief moments. And it's amazing how so many thoughts can be packed into such a small amount of time. But all of those things I thought, and then it occurred to me that, this experience that I just had was something that I could share with you folks, and something that, we can maybe all learn from. And as I got out of the ditch, police officer came. He kind of had his lights going so that, we wouldn't get hit by another vehicle while we were pulling out, and that was really nice of him. He was very courteous and kind. It was nice to have him there. But I got pulled out. It was fairly easy to get it out. My buddy with his pickup truck, he got it loose. And then as I was going down the road, of course, you're feeling the sensations of the vehicle now, because what broke? What got damaged? What can't I see? Everything looked fine. The tires weren't flat. Nothing was severely dented other than that back bumper where I hit that little reflector pole. And so you're feeling those sensations, trying to, there's a little bit of a vibration here. Is that something I should be concerned about? Or maybe it's just mud that got packed up in the rims, and, that what it turned out to be was just some mud in there. It caused my tire to be out of balance. But, all these things that you're thinking about and considering, and how all these things happen so quickly, and how life goes that way. When I got where I was going, I was telling some people about how I'd wound up in the ditch, and that's why I was late for my appointment. And they said, well, whose fault was it? What happened, And I had to think about that for a minute too, because the truth of the matter is that everything we do in life is a direct response or responsibility. We're responsible. And, I could say, well, it was slippery conditions, and, I had no control over that. But the truth is, I do have control over that. I have control over everything in my life. Had I have gone a little slower, maybe I wouldn't have been in that predicament. Maybe, again, I would have. I don't know. But, I had to give an honest answer and say, you know what? It was my responsibility. It was my fault. And so many times these days in our world, everybody's trying to put the blame off and say, well, it wasn't my fault. It was Bob's fault over there. It was Joe's fault, or it was the semi-driver's fault. If he wasn't going so slow, I wouldn't have had to pass him. And, all these things goofy games that we play, mind games, that we're really only fooling ourselves of it wasn't my fault, trying to ease our responsibility or our own emotions and feelings, like, well, there was nothing I could have done. And, when you do that, when you shirk the responsibility, when you say, it wasn't my fault, and you blame it on something else, whether it was the weather or another vehicle, or, maybe it was just that somebody delayed you and now you had to hurry to work or something. All of those things are keeping you from fixing the real problem. And when we stop using excuses and we start taking responsibility, then we can fix the problem, the real problem, and prevent future problems. But when we don't take responsibility, then nothing's going to change in the future, because we didn't change anything now. And so it was my responsibility. It was my fault. I was driving too fast for conditions, even though I thought I was driving at a reasonably safe speed. Obviously I wasn't. I wound up in the ditch. And so, we have to be willing to take that, because when we take responsibility, we can do something about it. We can make things happen and make things better. And so I'm not ashamed. I'm unhappy. I'm going to be more careful now. Not that I wasn't careful before. I've driven a lot. For many years I've driven. I've put a lot of miles on, and I've had a lot of experience in driving. But, it was a judgment call that I made that wasn't a good one. And I need to be more cautious about that in the future, because truthfully, I might not have been here today. What if I'd have spun out a little quicker? What if I'd have spun the other direction and it threw me in front of that semi instead of into the ditch on the left-hand side? What about that? And what about other people whose lives would be affected by my carelessness or my momentary lapse of good judgment? That semi driver hadn't done anything. He was driving. He was being careful. And what if, I'd have caused him to get in an accident and he didn't get to go home to his family, and his family would be without their dad and without their source of income and providing, and how sad that would be, And then there's all the people that would be affected by my death or loss if something happened to me. And, there's just all these factors that we need to keep in mind and consider, because it could have easily gone the other way. And I thank God that it didn't. I thank God that, once again, He was merciful and He protected me and looked out for me, as He has done many times in my life. And I can always look back on those times and know that as I walked down life's path, there were times when indeed God picked me up and carried me through whatever it was I was going through. And there were only one set of footprints in the sand. And I think that little poem is just such a nice little poem, that little story about the footprints in the sand, and how, we think so oftentimes we got a handle on things and we got control of things and we got this, but it's not about us. It's not about us got this. We don't have this. If it weren't for the mercy of our Creator, if it wasn't for His keeping an eye on us and taking care of us, we wouldn't be anywhere. We would be sunk for sure. And I am so grateful to Him for all the times, not just today, but all the other times and many times in my life that He's looked out for me and taken care of me and kept me from going in a bad direction, or even when I was going in a bad direction, He kept me from it ruining my life like it did so many other people. I've got so many friends that sadly are permanently scarred by the bad choices they made in their lives. And, I don't know why God chooses to allow that for one person and yet protect another person. But I know for sure that He's protected me. I know that many times He wants to teach us, or merely we're supposed to learn from the stupid mistakes we make, because I don't believe that God punishes us like so many people teach. I believe that it's cause and effect. If you reach out to touch a hot stove and you touch it and you get burned, then it's cause and effect. Your parents can tell you, hey, don't touch that stove. But still, you got burned anyway because you chose to ignore their warning. And I believe that God is the same way. He loves us, He cares about us, and He doesn't want us to get hurt. So He warns us and says, don't do that because it's not good for you. You'll have problems if you do. And if we choose to ignore His warnings, the cause and effect is that we end up getting burned. We end up having discomfort in our lives. We end up having injury, maybe physical, sometimes just emotional, but we wind up with problems. And the good news is He always lovingly is there and picks us back up and holds us and says, I told you not to touch that hot stove, and I'm sorry you burned yourself, but let that be a lesson to you so you don't burn yourself the next time. And, so many times we see other people get hurt and have problems. If we would just take the opportunity to think about those and say, you know what, I'm going to learn from their mistake. I'm going to not do that, because I saw them do it and it hurt, Little boy touches the stove and his little brother goes, ooh, man, he screamed and hollered when he did that. I'm not doing that. So we need to learn, but so many times we don't. I'm just as guilty of that as anybody else. I've done things over my lifetime that, I should have been watching and heeding those around me and their problems and the results of their doing those things, and I didn't. I just went ahead and marched on and did it anyway, and I suffered the consequences like they did. Hopefully then we learn and we get it that time, because, failure to learn from our mistakes means we're doomed to repeat them. And, doing the same things over and over again, it's going to get you the same results that you always got. So if we want different results in life, we have to change that. But anyway, that was just an interesting exciting start to my day, and I thought I'd share that with you. There's so many good things that we can learn from our stupid mistakes, and so I wanted to share with you guys what I kind of learned from my mistakes and the thoughts I had and the interesting aspects of those. Certainly the responsibility factor is a good one. And, we just need to really be mindful of others. We need to be aware of our surroundings and be cautious, because that one goofy little mistake can be fatal. And fortunately for me today, it was not. But anyway, I was reading, as I always do, all the time. I was reading one of my favorite books by Frank Bettcher, How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Sales, or in Selling, I guess it actually is. And you can find that book and many more good books on my website. And I'll have JB put that on your screen right here. The address there, you can go to that. And there's many, many good books, but that's one of my favorites. It's in our top 5 list of good books to learn from. But I was reading a chapter in there today, and one of the things really struck me also there. A little bit different note than the accident, but the guy was talking about, he sat down one day and he thought about all the cars he had bought over the years, and he said he added them all up and it came to 33 cars that he had bought at that time in his life. And he thought about that, and all of the cars that he had all bought from different salesmen. Never bought 2 cars from the same salesman same salesman anyway. And it was his observations, and it was certainly a good one, of why was that? Why did he only buy 1 car from 33 different salesmen? Because if those salesmen would have considered him and would have kept in contact with him, even just occasionally, give him a call and so on, they would have probably got multiple sales. One salesman could have gotten probably most of those 33 sales had he have stayed in touch with Frank and stayed friends with him and been more interested in Frank than he was in making his own sale. But sadly in life, it seems like that's how a lot of us go. And, all of the things we really miss out on because of that, because it's all about me, me, me. It's all about what can I get, and once I get what I got, then okay, I'm done with that one. Let's move on to the next one. And, I've got a guy that sold me some property one time, and I really liked that guy. He's just a likable person. He's just got that kind of personality, And I really liked him. Every time I see him, I'm happy to see him. But you know what? I almost never see him. And, he sold me this property, and once that property was sold, he marched on to the next one to sell. And I only occasionally hear from him or see him now. I've been kind of saddened by that and disappointed, because I liked the guy and I thought he genuinely liked me, but it seemed like that, from my perspective anyway, that he was only interested in getting that sale for me, and once he got it, he was gone, like the car salesman, on to the next one. And, someday I'm going to be ready for some more property as well, and when that time comes, it's not out of the question that I could look that fella up. But if he stayed in touch with me, he'd be there and be ready for that when the time arrived, and maybe even be there to ask me for that business rather than me coming to him and asking him. One of the things I'm really learning from Frank Bettcher, and of course Frank learned it too and was passing this on to us, and that's what makes his book so great, because he's got these little tidbits of information that really can change our lives forever. But if back in the day when Frank bought those cars, if he paid $1,000 each, that means he spent $33,000 on cars. You could spend that on not even 1 car these days without even trying. But back in the day, that was the average price for a car. But if one salesman would have kept in touch with Frank, and if one salesman would have took an interest in him as a person, said, "Boy, Frank, I really like you. I'd like to stay in touch." How much of that business they could have had, rather than just a $1,000 sale, they could have had $30,000 in sales over a period of time. And that's where, making friends is so important, but we need to make friends to make friends. We need to make friends for what we can do for them, not for what they can do for us. Zig Ziglar is so famous, the late Zig Ziglar, so famous for saying that if we help enough other people get what they want, then we'll get what we want in life. And it just automatically happens. Our focus is so oftentimes on the wrong thing. We're so focused on what we want, and we want to pay the bills this month, and we want a new car, or we want to send the kids to college, or we want a new house, or we got to pay the mortgage, or whatever it is. And we lose sight of what's really important and the unique way that things really work. I have to smile sometimes because, in the grand scheme of things, when God created everything, He didn't make it work the way we thought it should. He made it work the other way on purpose, I believe. I think He made it work where if we focus on other people, if we give to other people, then we will end up getting what we want without even having to hunt for it, because we've just been valuable to others, and it just automatically happens. Other people will help you get what you want, and sometimes it comes from people that you didn't do anything for yet. The fellow that pulled me out of the ditch today, he just came and pulled me out, and it was very kind of him, and I was grateful that he did that. He's building that relationship situation. He's building that kind of an investment account. The more good you do for other people, God created it in such a way that the more you do good for other people, the more you get back. And the Bible says that if you cast your bread upon the water, it will return to you. If you give, I'll cause man to give back unto you your bosom, good measure, pressed down and shaken together and running over. That was one of my father's favorite verses. But all of these promises that God gave, and He laid it out in His book and said, look, here's how it works. It's not about making us jump through hoops. It's a heads up for us. It's a don't touch the stove or you'll get burned. This is how it works. If you follow this path, if you give to others, if you spend your time caring and concerning about other people and helping them out, you'll get what you want automatically. It just happens. And you don't have to worry about it because it will happen. I don't know what you want, but God knows. God knows what you want. God knows what you need. And if you need something right now, God knows what it is. If you need to get that fixed, I encourage you to go help other people. So oftentimes when we help others, we forget about our own stresses and concerns and cares too, because we start to realize that, this guy's got worse stress and worse cares than I've got. I should be grateful that mine are this small. And so, helping other people in that regard helps us emotionally, because we're not focused on our own problems then. We're focused on helping other people and their problems. And you know what? God will take care of all that. He knows our needs before we pray. He knows our desires. He said He wants to give us the desires of our heart. He said, I would that you prosper and be in good health, even as your soul prospers. What is it that takes our soul and makes our soul prosper? What makes our soul prosper is learning these little concepts, these little precepts that Frank Betcher talked about in his book about serving others, about giving to others, about helping other people. Put that first on your list. Be of service to everyone that you can come in contact with. And I mean, even if it's little things, washing somebody else's windows at the gas station, or picking up a piece of paper you see in a grocery store or the gas station that's floating across the parking lot, pick it up and put it in the dumpster, or help a lady in and out of her car, or help somebody carry their groceries. Just be of value, be of service to others. I'm remembering, I'll get it right. I recall about Earl Nightingale's talk, and I know you guys have heard me refer to that a lot, and it's a very good one. I still encourage you to listen to it if you haven't yet. But he talks about how you can't get heat from the fire without first throwing on the wood. You can't sit down in front of your fireplace and say, give me heat and I'll add some wood on after that. Life doesn't work that way. The fire doesn't work that way. You're never going to get heat until you put the wood on and put a match to it. You've got to do the work first. You've got to plant the seeds first. And Earl Nightingale talks about that too. What you plant is so important. And so I encourage you to go out and plant good seeds. Go out and make yourself valuable. Go give other people service, and don't expect anything back in return. You don't need it to come back from them. God will give you the increase. He will give you the return. It may come from a totally different source that you just have no idea about today. And tomorrow something may pop up that will just be an amazing help to you because you've been a help to other people. So, I just really hope that that's been a blessing to you. We're getting down to the close of our half hour, and it seems like it always goes so fast. But I've really enjoyed spending this time with you today, as every day. And I hope that I've been a blessing to you as well. And if I have, I'd appreciate hearing from you. Write me an email at jim.pate@gmail.com and just kind of tell me what you got out of today's message and stories and the little basic principles and ideas that we've come across. And if you've been blessed by them, it'll bless me to know that you've gotten something from what we're doing here. Or you can give me a phone call, 616-799-0517. JB will put that on the screen for you again. I just hope that you were able to get something from my experiences today. And I'm glad that you all didn't wind up in the ditch today too. And so hopefully we'll all know how to keep out of that in the future. But again, I appreciate you letting me spend this time with you. I guess I got a little more time than I thought I did. I was getting close, but not that close. So be sure to talk to our sponsors if you get a chance. Again, it's pampermenaturally.com. Nice little website where you can buy soaps and lotions for your family that's good for their skin. And they have an ingredient list challenge. They challenge you to read the ingredient list of your favorite soaps and lotions. And when you're done trying to pronounce all of those foot-long words that end with weird syllables, then you can look at the Pamper Me Naturally ingredients list of their products, and you'll find that everything there is very clean and no toxins. All the colorings I know are natural colorings. They use minerals to give the colors. They use pure essential oils for most of their soaps. There are a few fragrance oils, but most of them are pure essential oils, which are, really edible. They're just oils that come from plants that we use all along anyway. So, and then Perry's Place, of course, 90 North Main, Cedar Springs, Michigan. And you can get some wonderful teas there from him. He's got a nice little tea shop. You can go in there and kind of sit down and enjoy yourself. There's some Wi-Fi there, and you can sip whatever tea of your choice. He even has coffee there as well. And again, he's got products for people that are having issues with gluten and or dairy. And he's good at counseling with people to help you with some of those issues and how to get around that and help you improve your health. So overall, we want to bring hope to you and your families. Helping other people excel is the name of our show. And we want to help you excel. We want to bring hope to your lives and your future, because without hope, indeed, we're all lost. And, that's what God encourages us to do for each other, is to help encourage each other and bring hope into our lives. So thank you again for spending this half hour with me. And you have a good rest of your week, and we'll look forward to talking to you again very soon. God bless.
Hi, I'm Larry Treese from Healthcare Associates and Community Caregivers. Just like in sports, when it comes to home health care, you need a good team. We offer private duty nursing, Medicare services, and therapies. We're a part of the community too. We want to be there for you. Give us a call. Home health care at its best, 531-9973.